In January, I was in Ukraine and Poland reporting for Newsmax. The trip included a stop at Auschwitz for Holocaust Remembrance Day. Since that trip, Russia's President Vladimir Putin has been charged with war crimes by the International Criminal Court in The Hague, and an arrest warrant has been issued for his arrest. So tonight, I have a dual purpose. First, to remind you of that disturbing chapter in history, the Holocaust, that we are now seeing shadows of with Putin, and also to honor a special man, a man on the other end of the spectrum from Putin. Benjamin Ferencz was born in 1920 in Transylvania, Romania. His family emigrated to the United States to escape the vicious anti-Semitism that was sweeping parts of Europe, and then the family settled in New York. In 1943, Ferencz graduated from Harvard Law School, and like so many others of the Great Generation, he enlisted in the U.S. Army. He served under General George Patton, Jr., and was there on June 6, 1944, D-Day, landing on Omaha Beach. Ferencz then moved on to fight in the Battle of the Bulge. Next, he joined a task force that investigated Nazi war crimes and collected evidence as concentration camps were liberated. The following is Ferencz, in his own words, speaking about some of the horror that he saw.
It must have been about 10 camps. I didn't count them. I moved as fast as I could from one camp to another. And I'd seize then the record-keeping office where they kept records. The Germans, God bless them, are very careful. When they murder somebody, they keep a list. First, they want to know his name. They want to know how old he is, where he came from. One of the inmates, he grabbed me when I came in, he hugged me, and he said, "I've been waiting for you." I have difficulty recalling these stories because I'm still emotionally affected with what I saw.
In December of 1945, after World War II ended, Ferencz was discharged from the Army. He returned to New York and married his childhood sweetheart, Gertrude. They were married for 73 years until her death in 2019. Ferencz planned on practicing law, which he did, but not in New York, as he expected. Despite having no prior trial experience, Ferencz was recruited to return to Germany as a prosecutor at the Nuremberg trials. These 12 trials prosecuted Nazis for their war crimes. At 27 years old, Ferencz was made chief prosecutor of the Einsatzgruppen trial, which convicted mobile death squads that executed Jews across Eastern Europe. And these war criminals would have escaped justice were it not for Ferencz. During an investigation, Ferencz found documents on the mobile death squad. He then asked his superior to make space for an additional trial.
I added them up when I reached 1 million, over 1 million people murdered by these groups. I said, we have to put out a new trial. He said, no, we can't. The Pentagon has approved the budget. We cannot expect any additional trials. And I said, you can't let him go. And he said, well, can you do it in addition to your other work, supervising the search for documents? I said, sure. He said, okay, you're it. So I became the chief prosecutor of what later was known as the biggest murder trial in human history.
Of the 22 men on trial, all were found guilty of at least one charge. 14 were sentenced to death, and 4 more were executed later. Ferencz's reaction?
My personal reaction was very somber. I didn't say, hooray, good for you, and so on. On the contrary, I got a splitting headache.
69 years later, at age 97, Ferencz had this to say during an interview with BBC News.
We have made progress. We have not learned the lesson of Nuremberg. I learned that war makes murderers, mass murderers, out of otherwise decent people. And it applies to all wars and all nationalities, and I've seen it in all the wars. These are not wild animals who are out for blood. These are patriots who are trying to do their duty to protect either their religion or their nationality or their economic security. These are the 3 major causes. We have not learned that you cannot kill an ideology with a gun. We still go at it with the same stupid approach of spending all of your assets on building weapons and more weapons to kill more people and depriving people of the things they need to eliminate the fears which they have in their life. A man who's desperate because he has no job and has no money. If the money spent on weapons could be spent on eliminating the cause of his discontent, he's not going to risk his life and go out and kill people the way they do today.
After the trials, Ferencz worked as a professor of international law and in 2002 helped establish the International Criminal Court in The Hague. He was adamant that, quote, "We need the force of law instead of the law of force." Benjamin Ferencz died peacefully in Florida at age 103. He is survived by his 3 daughters and his son, who also works in international law. Tonight, we remember the horrors of the Holocaust, and we give a special thanks to Benjamin Ferencz, who fought courageously during World War II and dedicated his life to ensuring that it is never repeated. I would have loved to have met him.